So today I am very, very pleased to introduce Brittany, but she goes by Britt. So a quick summation of her ridiculously talented career. So she's a cinematographer and editor based in Syracuse, New York. She earned her master's in photography from Syracuse University's Newhouse School of Public Communications. And I don't want to talk too much about her because she can give you part of the introduction herself. But she has the innate ability to tell a story without using words. So today's class is on lighting, and I'd like to introduce again, Britt.
How's everyone doing at 8 in the morning? Everyone a little tired? Okay, so just start you off. So yeah, you can call me Britt. I teach at Syracuse University. I'm an adjunct professor teaching a class called Foundational Skills in Sound and Video and Editing. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about like the reason I'm doing this today. And it's because a lot of the time, sound is the last thing on your mind. You come to these workshops, and this happens at Newhouse, this happens everywhere, this happens here, where you just want to get to being a cinematographer, you want to get your hands on the camera. But if you can get someone in your group to really focus on sound, or all three of you, all two of you to focus on sound, your story is going to really stand out, and the judges are going to be more blown away than ever on Sunday, and the rest of us, right? And you're going to really appreciate that video that's going to come out of the weekend, and then show your friends and your family. So the point of this, it's a quick, like 40 minutes. It would have been great to have 3 hours with you, but the first.
Can I give you this mic?
Oh, sure. I have another one. You can't hear me. Sound is very important. All right. Let me know if that doesn't work. Oh, okay. Everyone can hear me? Yeah. There's like a little echo. Okay, so welcome to this workshop. There's a nice, little bit more updated photo. I even am wearing the same jacket, which is great. But yeah, the whole point of this is to pretty much make you appreciate sound a little bit more. So some of you are going to say like, oh yeah, no, I know that. I know like the basics of sound, and I know what that microphone does. But this is just to get you thinking about it the whole workshop, and then into your careers, what you're doing currently. You'll notice that when you do capture that quality sound, you can manipulate it in post-production in any way that you like to make it very, very cool for the emotion you want to evoke in your story. But you have to first make sure you're collecting that sound appropriately. So I'm going to go through a bunch of stuff today. It's going to be a little bit faster. You can always come to me throughout the workshop with any question you have, and I can help you kind of get going. What I do, I'm a senior video producer at Syracuse University. I create online classes. I also am an instructor, like I said, and an independent contractor in editing and sound and anything I can really get my hands on. That's what I do. And like he was saying, I have a BA in journalism, so I was a reporter for 6 months too, or 6 months, 6 years. It's quite the difference. And then I have an MA in photojournalism, and I've been kind of around the world doing documentary work as well. So if anyone has any questions about that later on, we can go into it, but we'll just kind of go right into it. All right, so quality of sound is really important, right? Can you close your eyes and can you visualize sonically what's going on in the story? Can you tell what is going on? And that's really important. I wanted to show you a video that I show my students at Newhouse as well. That's really very interesting. So it's a video. Some of the things I want you to think about when you watch the video is, do the ambient sounds evoke emotions? Do they evoke memories? Do they symbolize anything? There's a musical score that was created specifically for this video. Does it distract? Does it add to it? Because I don't want you guys to be throwing music on top of your videos on Sunday and just think that's going to be kind of a music video, because you want to be intentional about adding that music if you're going to add it at all. You can create soundscapes that are going to do the job just fine. So we're going to watch that. And hopefully, it's called Words. It's about 3 minutes. So just think of, I'm gonna call in just a couple people just to think of things that you noticed right off the bat that were really cool and stood out to you. That sound does, that video does not.
Here, Mr. Backer's coming off the corner here, at the end is pinching.
Play ball! You breaking up, man. I can't hear you.
Run away. I'm serious, I'm gonna run away.
Flight 022, maintain approach. You're clear for runway 27.
That is not gonna fly!
I've fallen, and
Light as a feather. Come on. Light as a feather. Light.
Let there be light!
So can a couple people tell me what their initial reactions? Was there a moment that really stood out to you?
I guess when I realized what was going on with the words and how it was like, oh, that's clever.
Right? Could you close your eyes and still, know kind of what that sound came from? You can hear the airplane go by. You can hear rain. You can hear. There's some things that you do need that visual and that sound to come together, right? But if you don't have that sound, it's not going to be as impactful. So when you guys are working this weekend, think about your soundscape that you can add. Something to pull you into the video, maybe before the interview comes in or before you have that dialogue, and something to pull you out of your video to kind of leave your audience with something to viscerally and sonically think about and kind of sit with. Something that's, there were parts in this video, I would say, and you might agree, that the music did come in at a certain moment, like the leaf falling, and you kind of felt this drop, right? You felt whew, okay, there's something there. Anybody want to say anything before we move on? In the back?
Anticipation, with the grand piano, you were scraping. I thought I should have heard a crash, but it never did, and it made me kind of anxious.
Right? Yeah, you can do a lot with silence. Silence is a really big deal. You can sit with to allow your audience to kind of sit with, direct them to there being no sound. Like, I want you to be either jarred or uncomfortable, right? And you can do that with video too, with editing, and it all comes together, and sound is a big part of that. So think about that this weekend. Think about how you can kind of really impress yourselves and everyone else by collecting a cool sound, using your libraries to do that. This is, how many people have seen Atonement? The movie Atonement? 1, 2? Okay. This is an older movie. It has some things. I'm going to show you a clip, but just be warned, there are some uncomfortable scenes. So if you do want to step out, that's fine. Nothing too crazy, but it's a hard movie to watch. But some of the things I want you to think about too as we play it through. So this movie did win Oscars for music and design, sound design, and then also the cinematography is gorgeous, you'll notice. But try to focus on the sound and not so much the cinematography. How does the music focus your sound and your perspective? So always think about where you're placing your mic. Depends on how you want the perspective of sound to shift within your piece. So if you're filming someone playing the horn from across the room, you're not going to have the sound right next to them, right? If your camera is all the way back here and they're all the way over there. So think about perspective of sound so it makes sense. Can you notice a shift in location? Are we following the characters? Are we leaving the characters? Sound can really help guide you. And I would highly recommend, I'll share with you the link, or you can easily just YouTube this scene, but listen to it on headphones. That makes a lot of difference. You'll hear the sound actually moving from one ear to the next, which is very cool. So, anybody want to talk about some of the things that they noticed about sound design and specifically? Anybody? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you can use sound to create character or to follow a character through a story and give yourself like a perspective of sound, different perspectives. So you would hear sound of things coming into the scene, but from how that person is living, that main character is living in that scene and walking throughout it, which is really cool, right? When they get up to the singers, if you had your headphones on, it would be easier to tell that as you're moving around them, their sound is going from one ear to the next, but depending on, it's the coolest thing, right? And they had to use a lot of microphones to kind of do that and really like play with that scene. So not only was that like a one shot for camera, the sound guy was really working, right? So pretty cool. Anything else? Exactly. You hear, horses being shot, and you're like, what is going on? And then you see the soldiers are shooting. And then the paper, that's another visual moment, but it's sonic first. You hear like flapping in the wind, and you're like, what is that? And then you're realizing they're burning literature, books. Like it's not just they're kindling for fire, right? That's a big deal. That's education being burnt, right? So then that music see how that music slowly faded in? That like you didn't even realize it until you were right next to the main character and you had to feel like how he was experiencing the scene. It's pretty cool. So this weekend, think about, obviously this is like a higher production, there's a lot more people going on, but think of those little things. You're profiling someone and you're in their space and you want to feel, maybe you want to take it from their perspective. So you want to have some point of view shots, but also think of sound and point of view, right? There's a lot to think about. That silent, that like sitting with that main character or those three guys, and that the weight of that moment that they're experiencing. Because if you watch the movie, they think this is the end. There's nothing like, yes, this is the end, and they get over and they see the chaos of people just forever changed by this moment. And then now they're forever changed, and they're feeling sickly, they're feeling nauseous. That silence. You don't need to cover up your videos with music. But you can kind of bring it in if it's appropriate. So really think intentionally about music, really important. And silence. Silence can be really very important and very powerful. So moving on, as you guys know, investing in gear is pretty important. And in your jobs, I hope that you have access to, different kind of microphones. And of course, you should have like hard drives to back up your media. But this weekend, I would have like an external hard drive with each person on your team and back everything up. You shoot tonight or tomorrow, have it backed up 3 times or twice at least. Right? Because it only takes one drive to crash. So media cards for sound, it tends to really work well. You don't need a lot of storage space for sound because videos can be very large, right? 4K video, 8K, it goes all the way up. But sound, you don't really need much. You can have a 16 gigabyte card in here if you wanted, or 8. You can have, 128, that's fine. But you always have to make sure when you're using a sound device like the F8 or something smaller or something bigger, if you're gonna capture sound outside of your camera, you want to just pay attention to look up the manual, make sure that there's some that won't take a higher gigabyte card, and you could be on with a client and kind of be out of luck. Right? I can't record. It'll be an error if it's over 64. There are some out there. So be careful about your media. Really important to format your card. As you guys know, and this is with cameras and this is with sound, when you're moving media cards between devices, you need to make sure, and you're starting your recording, you want to format, start from scratch, erase your data. But don't erase data you haven't saved to your drive. Just be really careful. I've had students where they've had a meltdown after losing a ton of stuff because they thought their partner had saved it. So this weekend, be really careful. I don't want to see anybody upset this weekend. Headphones are really important. I wouldn't recommend like Bluetooth headphones that might have a wire with it. I would get some good, solid headphones. These are good brands that I've used before that go right into your camera or your sound device. So don't use like AirPods, especially to edit too, like really kind of, there's a bunch of professionals here, so if you didn't bring something, like I brought my headphones here too, so if you need it, you just let us know. And then again, external hard drive, just be careful. Make sure you're backing everything up. Keep looking at the time. See, I could go through so much. We're only like halfway through. So I'm just gonna kind of go a little bit faster at this point because day to day, you're not gonna really think too into depth when you're doing sound. But I just wanted to kind of go over, a mono recording for sound is when you record a sound source using a single microphone, a single channel. That's like vocals, that's like instruments. If someone's playing electric guitar, you're getting that one channel. And then there's also the option, especially like with this, is you can have kind of a backup. So you can get your levels for one, and you can get the same on a different channel at a lower level. Say someone's screaming right in the middle of an interview, you don't lose that beautiful quality of sound because you have a backup channel. So there's always that option. I want to throw that out there in case someone here gets really into sound and they want to know more. And you can always ask me, and you can even look at this again. Stereo recording will help you so that, I don't know if has anyone recorded sound and they only heard it in one ear, right? And you're like, oh no, I messed it up. But make sure it's a stereo recording. But also and I'll show you in the demo, you would put an input one microphone, and then input 2, a different kind of microphone as a backup. And so you'll hear one in the left side of your ear, and you'll hear the other on the right, and you pick which one to use. You don't use both. You're gonna get this echo, this weird echo, right? You wanna know if what you clipped here is it brushing up against the person and it just didn't work out, and maybe this shotgun over here, which I'll show you, is perfect, it's great. So that's where stereo comes in. So always try to record it stereo as much as you can to have that kind of that back up. But with mono, if you do, you can always mirror that left channel to the right. So there is a way in post-production to do that. So if you're ever like, I messed this up, you didn't mess it up, it's gonna be okay. And then this is where it gets a little bit complicated. The choice of your microphone really matters. So when would you use a shotgun microphone? Anybody have an idea? Yes.
You really want like in front of you or whatever you're looking at.
Very directional. The important thing is to figure out, are you recording dialogue? Are you recording voices? You're recording instruments, just ambient sounds, right? You're in an I use this all the time because there's this family-owned ice cream shop locally, and they make ice cream, and I always think it's cool. You know, are you filming the bell at the door ringing? Are you actually recording, you know, them making the ice cream, and you have like the steam, the sound of steam? You know, you're gonna use that shotgun and just kind of get as close as you can to all those sounds, right? And then put it into with your video. This can get really complicated. You know, as you go in, you'll see, we'll talk about like pickup pattern, and this is like a cool little visual graph to show how each picks up sound and the sensitivity of that microphone. So like a lavalier microphone, like similar to like what I have right here, right, is a 360-degree pickup. So like this picture over here, you have the sensitivity is like kind of all around you, right? It's in the back of the mic, it's around, it's, you know, it's gonna be good. The only thing you have to watch out for is really like ruffling, like I'm probably causing a lot of, because I keep hitting it, right? So sometimes you need that shotgun microphone. And that's a cardioid pickup. So it's not as sensitive like behind the microphone as it is like right in front of your face. So it's very directional. It's the kind of microphone you want if you're doing man on the street interviews in a really loud intersection and you don't want to get all the other stuff, right? If you're using a lavalier, it's going to capture all the truck noises and just a bunch of stuff. But you use both just to see, right? You always want to have that backup if you have the capability to do that. And then it gets more complicated from there. There's like handheld mics, someone standing up in front of you. There's, oh, I thought I heard something. There's certain microphones that you would want, like if you're Lady Gaga, you're on stage and you want to get just her voice, there's certain handheld microphones for that. But if you want to get everybody in the background too, in the audience, cheering, then there's a certain handheld microphone that will pick more of that up, the whole like environment. So there's definitely a science to using microphones. It's really important. Like I was saying, you know, using a handheld microphone, you're not going to use that this weekend really. But there's certain techniques that you have to just be you got to be pretty close to it, right? You can't really be down here. Have you ever seen like an MC like hold it down here? Probably not, because they really know what they're doing. They've been doing it a while, so it's like pretty close to their mouth. So you need that. And then shotgun, here's a nice picture, and we're gonna look at that in the demo in the second half. But like I said, man on street interviews, it's noisy. This is very directional, just as long as it's pointing directly into your voice space, your talking space. It's also referred to as a line mic, so you'll hear that from sound engineers. Here's a picture of a lavalier, and we'll also look at that too in our demo. But that's a really small microphone. It's meant to be hidden if you're doing like a fictional piece and you want to create the illusion that there is no microphone, right? But if it's an interview with like the chancellor of a university or the president, and you know it's an interview, and so you want to just set it up really nice so it's not rubbing up against anything, right? So it's meant to be discreet and compact, so that's when you would use it. So if you were filming at the ice cream place and you wanted to get the owner moving around the shop and interacting with people, you mic him up. With that, hopefully you have access to like a wireless microphone. If not, you're just a little bit more careful if it's wired. And then you'd be able to get all of those like nice interactions, right? You're not just shooting from far away of them just handing money and whatever. You're getting like actual, like someone's actual life. So, I'm running out of a little time, but you can deep dive into these microphones, why to use each. But I just wanted you guys to be aware of like the difference between using, like laving up because a lot of you will do interviews out in the street or at, businesses. And I want you to know that you really should try to get your hands on and like experience what it takes to use a lavalier mic and do it well, right? I don't want to see the cable just falling out of the person's back pocket. I want you to be professional, put it like under their shirt, help them with that. But I'll show you today. So yeah, you could like really deep dive into like the different types of microphones. There's like a filter on some shotgun microphones that help with like the wind noise. But then there's also, a wind shield that you can put on it that'll help with the sound from the wind hitting it a little bit. It'll help so that it's not completely unusable. Because sometimes it's really loud, it's really windy, the weather is terrible, and even like a shotgun really struggles. So like I always say there's not a sound issue, it's a location issue. So sometimes it's like, well, it's not the day for these man on the street interviews. Let's go inside on campus to a really important place. Okay, cool. And you can really deep dive into even more. There's certain microphones that require a different powering. Yes. And if anyone is interested in deep dive, I can provide you with this link and you can look at it even more. But I just want to get to this part. I wanted to give you a couple like tips and tricks that I've learned kind of over the years. Trust your ears. Really, really listen. Take your time. Proximity, mic placement, just like an atonement in that clip, so very, very important. You want to be able to hear like the quality of what you're recording. Placing that mic appropriately. You don't want that lavalier too close where maybe they're looking down and you can barely hear them because they're covering it with their neck, right? So you want it a little lower. So mic placement is so important. It's just like putting your headphones on and really making sure before you hit the record button that there's no issues, that you're not hearing the rubbing. If you are, use the shotgun microphone, but still, like just listen. Don't be that person that just records and says, okay, we got to get going. Just make sure, like I said, is it appropriate to hide or can we see it? Focus on sound levels, and we'll go into that in the demo. Really very important. If the sound spikes and it turns into the red, and we'll go over this, you're gonna lose that quality. Your sound is gonna sound like it's hitting a wall. It's gonna, that kind of sound. You don't want that. You want quality. You want to hear the beauty to their voice. And I don't know how many people here have something like this, a slate. Raise your hand if you have a slate or access to a slate. A couple of you guys, yeah. When you're using an external sound device, it's so important for syncing your camera or cameras to this. Many of you this weekend are going to just plug your shotgun microphone to the top of the camera and have that sound coming right into the camera, which is great. And if you need any help, you let me know. So you won't need this, but in the future, if you are working on something where you have a sound engineer who's going to be listening to this specific device, this is something you need. It's a clap, right? You can easily do it with just a clap. So that works too. And then we just have a couple minutes. So I'm just going to talk to you. I mentioned already, silence is really key, but silence in a room it's not silent. If we stop talking for 3 seconds, listen to the room. Right? What do we hear? We hear the heat, the vent. We could hear the humming of technology. Rooms aren't silent unless you really spend a lot of money to make that silent, like a studio. But even then, it sounds a little funky. So when you're out and about, collect that room tone. Like after you finish your interview, record about 60 seconds of that space, and we can then go into post-production and we can remove that weird sound, that consistent, as long as it's a consistent hum, we can move that. But think about, like, there's location issues that will happen where maybe can we unplug that refrigerator before we start the interview? Can we close that window so the birds aren't, chirping away? Think of all of those issues that could happen. And yeah, we don't have time to go into more of what I was gonna, but I have some videos that I can share if anyone is interested. Some really cool award-winning shorts that, and then we, going into Spielberg and sound design and changing perspective of like listening to characters in a car to then outside, and it's motivating action. Sound will help motivate action. Sound will create character, like in WALL-E. If anyone's seen WALL-E, it's very cool, right? Fantastic Mr. Fox, sound perspective shifts so many times. You gotta have your headphones in, but I'll share those videos too at a later time. And we don't have a lot of time. We don't have any more time, right? Not really? Okay, cool. All right, so as you can see, sound is so big, and I could spend hours with you guys talking about how much I appreciate sound. I married a sound engineer. He does this every single day. I do video editing, sound, like all of it, but he dedicates his life to quality sound. So I can really appreciate spending 9 years with him, sound. So just to kind of wrap it up, just think about how you're gonna incorporate your sound in your video this weekend. Think of showing that sound, like introducing that into your video before you even see what's going on, right? It's just like in an atonement. You can introduce that drip of the sink and before you see the sink. Like think of going from black with sound into showing your visual. Like, try to impress yourselves and try to impress everybody else, because sound will definitely do that. But thank you guys.